Mr. Skinny by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Skinny was extraordinarily thin. Painfully thin. If he turned sideways, you could hardly see him at all. And what made it even worse was that he lived in a place called Fatland. Yes! Fatland! As you can very well imagine, everything and everybody in Fatland was as fat as it could be. Not stout. Fat. Fatland dogs. Extremely fat. Rough. Rough. Fatland worms are extraordinarily fat. Whoop, 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 whoop. Fatland birds are exceedingly fat. Droop, droop, droop. Now you should see a Fatland elephant. Oh. And there in the middle of all this fatness lived Mr. Skinner, in the thinnest house you ever seen. Oh, Mr. Skinner, he didn't like being so different from everything and everybody. But there wasn't very much he could do about it. You see, he had hardly any appetite at all, and Mr. Skinny meal was a very meagre affair. Do you know what he had for breakfast? One cornflake. And for lunch, one baked bean. And for tea, nothing. And for supper, the world's smallest sausage. After that he felt so full he went straight to bed. In his long thin bed, in his long thin bedroom, in his long thin house, in Fatland.
No, I do so wish I could do something about my appetite,
he sighed to himself just before he went to sleep.
No, I think, he thought, that I'd better go and see the doctor about it.
Then he went to sleep. Following morning was lovely. The large fat sun shone down on the fat green trees and the fat yellow flowers. And through them walked Mr. Skinner, on his way to see the doctor. Dr. Plump. "Come in, he wheezed as Mr. Skinner knocked at his door. Sit down, he wheezed as Mr. Skinner entered. And what, he wheezed, putting his plump fingers together, seems to be the trouble?
No, it's my appetite,
explained Mr. Skinner.
I'd like to be able to eat more so that I can put on a little weight.
Oh, yes, you are rather, how shall I put it, thin, wheezed the doctor, looking at him over his glasses. I know, he continued. Let's start the treatment right now. He licked his lips. This very moment, he added. And he opened a drawer in his desk and took out an enormous cream cake. He put it on the desk in front of him. And opened another drawer, took out half a dozen donuts, and put them on the desk in front of him. And opened another drawer, took out a dozen currant buns, and put them on the desk in front of him. 11s, he explained.
But it's only 10 o'clock,
said Mrs. Skinner. Who's counting? wheezed Dr. Plump. Tuck in! And without further ado, he and Mr. Skinner ate a lot. Mr. Skinner ate a dab of cream, a donut crumb, and one cut. Dr. Plump ate the rest. Wheezed Dr. Plump, popping the last currant bun into his mouth and looking at Mr. Skinner. I see what you mean about your appetite, he said. He thought for a moment. Only one thing for it, he wheezed. This calls for drastic measures. And he picked up his telephone in his potty fingers and dialed a number. 100 miles away, the telephone rang. Yellow, said a voice. Do you know whose voice it was? Mr. Greedy speaking, said the voice. Mr. Greedy listened to what Dr. Plump had to say.
You'd like it, Mr. Skinner, to come and stay,
He said.
to build up his appetite.
He added. Ooh, delighted, he agreed. And so Mrs. Skinner went to stay with Mr. Greedy. He stayed for a month. And during that time, Mr. Greedy did manage to increase Mrs. Skinner's appetite. And so at the end of the month, Mrs. Skinner returned home. Happy. With a tummy. A tummy was something that Mrs. Skinner had always wanted.
No, I never knew I had it in me.
He chuckled to himself. He was feeling so proud of his tummy, he decided to call in and see Dr. Plump on the way home.
I say,
Wheezed Dr. Plump, looking at him up and down.
congratulations. I tell you what,
He went on,
this calls for a celebration.
and he opened his desk drawer.
Here you are, eat that.
No.